SolarWinds and Sophos are in the news, 7 New Year's security predictions, plus Marketopia's Terry and Andra Hedden join us to talk about New Year's marketing resolutions. It's ChannelPro Weekly, episode 128, Deep Dish TV. Hello everyone, welcome to ChannelPro Weekly, episode 128. My name is Matt Whitlock, technology editor, online director, and your host of this podcast is for folks like you, the VARs, the MSPs, the integrators, the IT resellers, the MSSPs. If your business uses a very long acronym to describe yourself, I think you're probably in the right place. And the more letters, the better. And someone who would agree with that is my co-host and cohort and the awesome, the great, the fabulous, I'm at a loss for words, executive editor Rich Freeman.
I am all about letters, Matt. More letters, the better, as far as I'm concerned.
When you're talking tech acronyms, it does seem that the more you have, the more awesome you are.
It's true. Actually, if you look, I think a lot at certifications. Like the longer the certification acronym, the more impressive it is.
Yeah, the MSS GSA COP is the one that you want to have, right? And like that means like awesome, totally awesome. So yeah, lots of acronyms in this business. Well, anyway, thank you everyone for joining us and welcome to the show. Episode 128 is where we are at. We've got a lot of great stuff coming up in the show. So we've got some news stories. SolarWinds is in the news. Sophos is in the news. We're going to be talking about New Year's security predictions. We also have a great guest interview coming up. Not one, but two guests actually. The great Terry and Andra Hedden from Marketopia is going to be joining us for an interview. And in that interview, Rich, we're going to be talking about New Year's resolutions in what sense?
Well, Marketopia is a marketing agency for MSPs, and Terry and Andra are two of the savviest marketing professionals and consultants that I know. And they're going to be sharing New Year's marketing resolutions for folks in our audience here. So fresh year, folks. Time for a fresh start on marketing. You're probably not doing as much as you ought to. We're going to get some thoughts from Terry and Andra on New Year's marketing resolutions for 2020.
And that is going to be well worth sticking around for. Great fun, great people. We've known them for a while, and they've done some stuff at our live events, so we've gotten a chance to interact with them on all kinds of levels. And they're nice folks. Wouldn't you agree, Rich?
Absolutely.
Yeah, awesome. So we have that. Then we'll close out the show with some of our normal stuff. I got a museum pick for you and a tech pick and more. I didn't even cover everything that's on here, Rich. We've got a jam-packed show of greatness. So we may as well just dive in. What do you say?
Let's do it.
All right. So SolarWinds is in the news this week. They're introducing, well, a cloud-to-cloud backup service for Office 365. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So it is specifically for Office 365. So SolarWinds has a product called SolarWinds Backup, and they've had that for a while. For a while, it's been doing workstation backups and server backups, complete images. It's also had business document backup functionality. There hasn't really been backup functionality in that product for software as a service applications until now. They have just introduced a new component. It's actually like an integrated piece of that solution. It uses the same interface, so you manage it in that same console using the same tools and processes and so on. Now you're going to have the ability, if you use SolarWinds Backup, to back up Outlook, OneDrive, and SharePoint data from Office 365 to the SolarWinds private cloud. They have their own network of 30 private cloud data centers around the globe, and they will be backing up from Microsoft's cloud to their own cloud and giving you, obviously, the opportunity to recover from their cloud. One of the big things for SolarWinds in pretty much anything they do, it's really core to their competitive strategy, is to do everything at scale and to do everything in a really affordable kind of way, and this is no exception. So they are pricing this on a per-user basis, unlimited capacity per user, $1.50, per user per month. So pretty affordable price point, given that they're really not setting any limits on the amount of data that you're allowed to store. It's worth pointing out for anyone who is using SolarWinds Backup today to back up workstations and servers and so on, The pricing on that part of the application is per device, and that will remain the case. So the Office 365 backup is the one piece where they're going to be doing it on a per user basis, mostly for logistical reasons having to do with the way SharePoint works and so on. But very convenient, predictable, easy model for an MSP. Now they, for right now, it's Outlook, OneDrive, and SharePoint. They didn't commit to this 100% in my interview with them, but it sounds like support for Microsoft Teams and Office 365 groups is going to be coming along at some point next year. So they will be expanding this. I asked them if they are planning to do other software as a service applications, like, say, Google G Suite or Salesforce. Very much under consideration, they said. They've gotten some requests from MSPs, but Office 365 is really the dominant SaaS solution in our marketplace here. It was clearly far and away the one that they needed to kind of get started with, and so that's where they got started, and they'll kind of evaluate adding other platforms later on. Only other thing to note, a few things actually here quickly. So the SolarWinds backup product comes with its own management interface. You can administer the Office 365 backups through that. If you're using the SolarWinds N-Central RMM tool, that has integrated support for SolarWinds backup right inside the N-Central interface. So you'll be able to use this Office 365 from your RMM tool. There is no such integration right now for the other RMM product from SolarWinds, which is their cloud-based product. But that is something that they're actually working on now and looking to introduce at some point next year.
So is this just a full kind of backup solution where it archives the user's data, or can the user restore individual files from this? Is there an end user facing feature to do that, or is it just backup only?
I don't know if there is an end user facing aspect of it, but there is a great deal of granularity built into it. So both in terms of what you back up and obviously what you restore. So you can specify, particular inboxes, for example, that you do or don't want to back up. Within OneDrive, you can specify that we're going to back up this folder, but not that one, or we're going to omit this file, or whatever. So you do. There is policy-based granularity within the system.
And is it incremental? Does it save snapshots, or is it one backup, or is it like backups over time?
Good question. Don't know. I don't think it's a snapshot-based technology, so I assume it's more of an incremental kind of model.
Okay, cool. Very neat. I mean, it's very affordable. I haven't seen anybody offer cloud-to-cloud for Office 365 anywhere near this cheap. So that's kind of cool. Now, there are other competitors who do this, though. So how do they stack up with what they do versus some of the other ones?
Well, it's an interesting question, and it's a question I asked during the interview with them. And I mean, I think really from their point of view, there are a few things that they do point out. So just as for example, they feel that their so-called data location guarantee is a differentiator. So with SolarWinds, like I said, there are these 30 data centers. If you decide for some reason or other that you want the data you're backing up to be in a Canadian data center only, you can specify that when you're setting up an account, and thanks to this data location guarantee, they guarantee to you that they will not move the data over an international border without your permission. So they feel that that's differentiated maybe from what some other people are doing. But I mean, mostly this is something that just, from their perspective, expands the range of backup capabilities for their customer base. So they don't really kind of highlight that here are 8 things that we can do that the other platforms can't do. They're just making the SolarWinds backup product that much more functional. They're just adding another important feature to it. And if you work within that interface and you work within N-Central, for example, and you want to be able to do Office 365 backup without swivel chairing, then you have that option.
Excellent. Very cool. Well, I don't know if there's anything else to really say about it, so why don't we move on?
All right.
Sophos is in the news here. Sophos is in the news, Rich. What is going on with them?
So Sophos for the past several years now has had a sort of I call it a track. I don't know what terminology they use. It's not really a totally separate MSP partner program, but it's kind of an element of their partner program specifically targeted at MSPs. They call it MSP Connect. And they've been, gradually over time adding various Sophos products to that program so that in addition to the normal licensing options that any Sophos partner has now, an MSP who really wants to pay for everything the same way they bill for everything on a pay-as-you-go, monthly recurring revenue kind of basis, an MSP can now pay for Sophos solutions on that kind of subscription-based or in that kind of subscription-based way. And so what happened this week is two of the newest security solutions from Sophos, both of which were introduced this year, have now been added to MSP Connect. So one of those is called Cloud Optics, came out earlier this year, and it basically allows you as an MSP to go into Amazon Web Services or Azure or Google Cloud Platform and discover all of an end user's various cloud workloads there and secure those. So it's both a security, but also the ability to just find the stuff out there that needs to be secured, which can be a little tricky sometimes in the age of shadow IT, if you will. The other product, which was introduced much more recently, I want to say either end of October or beginning of November, was called Managed Threat Response. And it's a combination software and services. Basically, it's a threat hunting and detecting solution that has a human threat response component to it, so that if you need assistance figuring out how to mitigate a successful breach, they've got experts in the Security Operations Center at Sophos who can provide that advice. And they can provide it either to you as the MSP for you to act on or relay to your customer, or if you authorize them to, they can talk directly to the customer on your behalf and walk them through whatever it is that you need to do. But it's set up basically so that the MSP is, or the other partner is in control of that customer relationship. So, and there were some other integrations that they announced. They had a whole series of integrations in place with PSA and RMM systems. They added some more integration functionality with the products from Datto and Kaseya and ConnectWise, I believe, as well. But I mean, basically, this is just further evidence that the MSP Connect program remains a priority, that they're working to continue. The aspiration is that all of the products that in their what they call their next generation platform, so Intercept X, which is their next generation behavior-based endpoint security system, for example, and the server version of that, they want to get all of their next generation products into MSP Connect sooner rather than later, although they're not talking about specific timing. I'll cite you some statistics just to kind of give you a sense for where the MSP Connect program is now, and then maybe why it kind of matters to them. It's only been around a few years. They've got 8,000 MSPs worldwide in that program right now, which is a pretty good number. $33 million in annual recurring revenue generated through the program. Billings were up 83% in the first half of the fiscal year. So this is actually a pretty robust growth area for Sophos right now. And as longtime listeners, regular listeners might remember when we covered on this podcast the fact that Thoma Bravo, the big private equity firm, had acquired Sophos, and that deal, by the way, closed or was approved rather by shareholders about 2 weeks ago. It will close in the first quarter of next year, but it was a bid when we talked about it on the podcast before. The bid has been accepted. Thoma Bravo is going to buy Sophos. And my theory is we know that they're very serious about managed services at Thoma Bravo. That's why they bought Continuum and then ConnectWise more recently. And I kind of have the suspicion that they view the MSP piece of Sophos as this big growth opportunity. It's a mature company, a lot of products. But I suspect where they look at it and see a lot of upside is specifically around security for MSPs.
Well, if Thoma Bravo buys them, I would say the writing is on the wall that they're going to deeply integrate MSP Connect into ConnectWise. That seems like it would be obvious, right?
You would certainly think that they would take advantage of, and it gets a little complicated with an organization like Thoma Bravo, because we look at it as a company, a private equity firm, but it's a private equity firm that operates multiple funds, and the funds have different investors in them, and the funds have different properties within them. And so just for example, ConnectWise bought Continuum in November. The news of that broke. These are both Thoma Bravo properties, but they were in different funds, and I don't know this for a fact, but I assume Continuum was sort of moved from fund. What does it mean for Thoma Bravo, which owns both companies, to have one company it owns by another? It was probably moved from one fund to another. So it's not quite as much a no-brainer as it might appear that, there will be all sorts of really intense integration across ConnectWise and Sophos, but I would think it's a pretty safe bet that you'll see certainly closer integration than exists now.
Yeah, that's kind of a head-scratcher, isn't it? A company that you own buying another company that you own, but own with different money.
Yeah. The
Boy, that is
world of private equity.
Yeah, that's got to be confusing. And how to do that? Like, does Thoma Bravo have to approve that? Like, yes, you can buy something that we already own.
Oh, I'm sure they were very, very closely involved in the decision to even pursue that. I would think the approvals would have to happen from the fund owners, and especially if I'm correct that they have moved Continuum from bucket A to bucket B, and that's really what this acquisition means. Then whoever owns bucket A, would have to agree that, okay, you're going to compensate us in this fund in this way, and then we're okay with you moving that over there. But yeah, definitely complicated.
Crazy. So MSP Connect is something we've talked about before, and I know there's Intercept X in it, and now there's these two, but there's also a lot of other things in that program that are pretty valuable. So this seems like a pretty worthwhile program for people to get involved in. Do you know what else is in MSP Connect?
Well, let me look that up real quickly for you, because I know I had that in the article here. So,
and while folks look that up, I will remind everyone that if you're listening on audio, and if you're listening on audio and you're not subscribed, please go to iTunes, go to Google Play or Stitcher, or wherever you like to listen, your platform du jour, and subscribe to the show. It's important, and then you can get all of the new shows downloaded to your device automatically. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button and the bell and subscribe there, so that way you know when we have new episodes out. And of course, feel free to throw a comment or two out there and be part of the conversation. And for those who are listening and or watching, if you're listening, you can go to our show notes page on channelpronetwork.com, go to the show notes for episode 128, and you'll see links to all the stories as we talk about them, because we kind of cover the high level, and then there's usually a lot more in there, so you can kind of read through as we go and discuss. And if you're on YouTube, same thing, just hit the description area, pop that open, and you'll see links to all the stories. So Rich, what else is in MSP Connect?
So right now, I mentioned Intercept X, and I mentioned there's a server version of Intercept X. So those are endpoint security products, behavior-based, a lot of built-in anti-ransomware functionality. Those are both in the program. Phish Threat, which is an anti-phishing, security awareness kind of product that they introduced, I think, a couple of years ago at this point, is in there. And then they've got some systems in there for securing wireless access points, mobile devices, email. So it's actually quite a number of their solutions that are already within the MSP Connect program. And without providing details, I can tell you there are more coming, and at least one that I know is going to be coming relatively soon.
Now, do partners sell MSP Connect as one whole solution, like it's one price per seat or per user or whatever, or can they pick and choose the things within it in order to sell and deploy?
So MSP Connect is actually just the, let's call it the partner program that you subscribe to. And if you remember that, and meet certain qualifications, that makes you eligible for this pay-as-you-go pricing, as opposed to the kind of standard way that people would pay for Sophos products. So
okay, so if you join the program, you're not necessarily getting everything. You're still choosing with the things within the program.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah. So that list of products I just kind of ran through there is stuff that you can get through MSP Connect on a subscription kind of basis.
Gotcha. Okay. Very cool. And I know you talked to them, and you hinted that more is coming.
Yep.
Any other interesting notes about Sophos?
I think not. I think that's where they're at right now, and yeah. Now that but like I said, I have a hunch. We're gonna be talking about them again next month. They didn't quote any particular dates to me or anything like that, but I'll just say that there was some stuff that they were kind of originally thinking they were going to announce this week that they decided not to for various reasons, and so I suspect we'll be hearing about some of that sooner versus later.
It's probably because George was sick.
Damn.
Yeah. He came down to LA. I think he emailed in, and they just couldn't do the announcement without George.
I keep telling him vitamin C. This time of year, it's important.
You take vitamin C or any I know my sister has like this whole barrage of supplements and things she takes to balance this versus this, and like at mealtime, I think she swallows more pills than food, which is really crazy. What are you like that? Do you have like a million supplements that you take?
Not at all. I take one. The one thing that I take every day is a vitamin D supplement, and the only reason I do that, I got a checkup from my doctor about a year ago, and he was like, "This is great. You are in excellent health. I have nothing really to be concerned about here. Just one thing." Your vitamin D reading is close to zero. Like I don't understand how it's this low. You need to take a vitamin D pill. But so that I do for the last year or whatever I've been taking, whatever. I don't notice any difference, but hey, doctor's orders.
Well, you're probably inside a lot. You probably don't get out much.
That's got to be part of it. Yeah.
Yeah. And do you drink dairy products?
I don't drink dairy products, but I eat a lot of yogurt.
Eat a lot of yogurt. Well, that would have some in it, but I've noticed a lot of people who are inside a lot. They don't or can't drink milk. They won't have good vitamin D. So interesting. Well, that's good. See, I take like one multivitamin and that's it. And I go and I've always been very interested in like that whole health thing, because you go to the store or the health store or whatever, and there's like this wall of stuff, vitamin D and roots that I've never heard of, and all these like crazy calcium citrate carbonates and all that stuff, and then there's like a wall, and I was like, am I supposed to be like taking these things? Like, how would you even know what to take? It's just nuts. Have you ever been in a health store and seen all this stuff and been like, what is all this?
Yeah, it's right. It's an entire aisle, basically. It doesn't even have to be a health food store. It's just, any drugstore you go to is going to have hundreds of different.
It is hundreds of them.
Yeah.
I got to get on. Rich, I think we're falling behind. We got to get on the supplement thing. Maybe it'll help with something. I don't know. How's your thyroid?
As far as I know, thumbs up on the thyroid.
That's pretty awesome. All right. Well, I don't think we have any other news to talk about other than this breaking news story that Rich had low vitamin D.
Yeah.
So I suppose we will move on. So as everyone knows, we're kind of nearing the end of the year. So this is, when are we recording this? This is December 18th today, I believe, right?
Yep.
So we're about halfway through the month, almost to Christmas, ticking down the times to when this decade comes to a close and we begin anew in 2020. So we're talking a lot about New Year's resolutions, and we're going to talk about more resolutions with Terry and Andra Hedden, especially as it relates to marketing. But this is also the time of year when we get a lot of predictions, because they're predicting stuff for next year. And we have 7 New Year's security predictions. So, Rich, let's go through some of these.
Yeah. No, and you're absolutely right. We get a lot of these. If you're in the IT media at this time of year, almost every vendor is sending you predictions of various kinds, which I kind of enjoy. I'm some of them are more interesting than others, but I always enjoy sort of sifting through it. And I pulled out some of the more interesting ones from security vendors for a story that's up on the website now. And before I forget, I'll just point out there are so many predictions that came into ChannelPro within the last month or so that I've actually got a second story. It's not live now as we record this, but tomorrow, December 19th, it'll go up, and there are some non-security predictions in that particular story. But in this one,
is that your crystal ball that I talk about all the time?
Is what? Oh, in the picture you're looking at?
Yeah, is that like your sister or something using your crystal ball?
No and no. That is not my sister, nor my crystal ball.
Man, she's really getting into that, though, isn't she? So it says cybercrime could do $5.2 trillion in damage globally over the next 5 years. That's a lot of money. $5.2 trillion.
Yeah.
All right. So tell us about this doom and gloom security, because every time we talk about security, I always feel like I need to go get new deadbolts for the house and start installing every type of anti-malware stuff I can get. So scare us, oh wise one.
And I sort of hate to I hate to be sort of a downer about this stuff, but there really is some stuff in this article that is a little, if not frightening, then discouraging. I'll just start here with multi-factor authentication, right, which is absolutely a best practice for security these days, in terms of verifying that somebody trying to get into a system is who they really say they are. And there are all sorts of great MFA tools out there. And we've been talking on the podcast about how companies like ConnectWise and the big managed service tool makers are sort of building MFA into their solutions, and in some cases mandating the use of that. So good news on the MFA front from the folks at WatchGuard, who have their own MFA tool, and they say they think that by this time next year, use of multi-factor authentication will pretty much be the standard practice for mid-sized businesses and up. And smaller businesses, still working on it, still getting there, but they really kind of see some serious adoption happening at the mid-sized level and above in MFA, which is going to make those companies safer, but not entirely safe, because we also got a prediction from the senior director of cybersecurity strategy at Webroot, who pointed out that MFA tools, as they tend to work today, are slowly becoming somewhat reliable, less reliable than they used to be before. There's this phenomenon you may have heard of called SIM jacking, where an attacker kind of learns just enough about you to call up your mobile carrier and fool them into thinking that, I'm Matt Whitlock, and I want to move my phone number from my current SIM card to this new one because I bought a new phone. And the mobile carriers will sometimes do this. And next thing you know, I've got your phone, which means I've got your MFA application, and I can get into whatever the heck I want to. So SIM jacking is making MFA tools as they exist today a little bit less reliable than they used to be. But I will emphasize, from my point of view, and I'm not a security expert, you should still be doing MFA, but there are some storm clouds on the horizon for that particular technology.
Well, I understand the point of multi-factor authentication. I know it's important and we should use it. I cannot wait until something better comes along, though. It is so much of a pain in the ass. And pardon my French, but it's like anytime you have to log into anything that uses MFA, it takes forever. I don't know. Something's got to be better than this, Rich. What's better?
Yeah, that I don't know, but I hope you're right that there is something better, and that because I agree, it's an important thing to do, but yeah, it definitely makes logging into almost anything a more time-consuming pain in the neck kind of experience.
Yeah, and there's a lot of them. It's like you log in once, and you have no option to save the login. So the next time you go to log in again, you got to do it again.
Yep.
And it's so frustrating. It's so annoying. Every website, every app, every service, it's got to stop. It's madness. All right. What's the next? Let's do like 2 or 3 of these, and then we'll move on. So what's another one you want to talk about?
So let's talk about this one, artificial intelligence. Now I remember, this is a little bit under 2 years ago now, I was at the RSA conference in San Francisco, so big security conference. And some of the experts I spoke to at that show are really pointing to artificial intelligence as sort of the great field leveler in security. So you've got all of these nefarious people, as we like to call them, out there attacking businesses. And they're very creative, and they're resourceful, and they're determined, and they keep coming up with these new and previously unseen kind of attacks. It's very difficult to guard yourself against something that you've never seen before. Artificial intelligence has really played an immense role in sort of leveling that playing field a little bit in recent years by allowing the software out there to kind of recognize attacks very, very quickly and counteract them. The fear expressed to me at that time 2 years ago is what happens when the bad guys start getting their hands on artificial intelligence themselves. And this was a phenomenon at the time that I referred to as the bad guys getting their hands on the AI bomb. It's starting to happen, basically at this point. And you're hearing about some crazy things around phenomena like deep fakes, for example, where hackers are drawing on artificial intelligence to do things that are extremely difficult to detect. And then the other thing that's happening is, obviously, the cyber criminals are as aware as we are that artificial intelligence is evening the odds a little bit. And so apparently they are starting to actually go after machine learning engines and trying to, specifically looking for techniques that will negate or confuse or sort of cancel out that edge that they can provide. So they're actually beginning to kind of target artificial intelligence to get it out of their way. So that advantage, what 2 years ago was really a big edge for the good guys, is slowly kind of eroding at this point. And it sounds like we're going to see a little bit more of that in 2020.
Yeah, and this is an interesting one because I've been following this a lot. And for those who don't know what deep fakes are, it's using artificial intelligence to essentially create extremely realistic video of people. So you can sample somebody's face, and there's a whole bunch of examples out there if you want to search for them, where they take for like a former president or a star, movie star or whatever, and they scan their face a bunch of times, and then they can create a video that looks like them talking very realistically, where it's almost impossible to tell that it's not real. And that's being extended into all other kinds of things. And we're coming into a time period where we are not going to be able to trust anything anymore. Video used to be like the thing you could trust, right? Like if there's video of it, that's like golden. I know it's real, but now that's not true anymore. Now video, you don't know if it's real because you could be watching a video of some celebrity talking or whatever, and it might be completely fake.
I mean, I'll give you a scarier example and real world example. This actually came up in one of the webinars that we aired in connection with our Cybersecurity Online Summit event in August. So this what I'm describing here is it's not speculation. This has already happened. Somebody basically recorded some audio or found some audio of the CEO of some company somewhere, and using very sophisticated software was able to create a voice simulator. And then using that voice simulator, they called up the CFO. And as far as the CFO knew, he or she was talking to the CEO. They're hearing a voice on the phone that sounds exactly like the boss. And the boss says, send $1 million or whatever it was to this Swiss bank account. And of course, you're going to do it. So, I mean, forget about not being able to trust video. You won't even really know who you're talking to on the phone.
Oh, it's going to be pervasive. Yeah, you're not going to be able to trust if the person you're talking to is real or the thing texting you is actually real. It's a scary time, man. We're going to go back to. This might actually drive so much more communication and business back to face because that might be the only thing you can trust.
Yeah, well, and this, sort of the same thing as multi-factor authentication. I sure hope the really, really smart people at the security vendors are coming up with an answer to this problem, because it's a very frightening one.
Oh my gosh, Rich, can you imagine having to do this? Is like my nightmare scenario. Think about this: you start a video call or conference, right? And then you have to both do a multi-factor authentication to prove that you're really you. Before you continue the call. God, that would be hell. And anytime you get a text, you have to multi-factor that or somehow or something. I don't know.
And you can imagine, it's like you log into a banking site and you've sort of preloaded it with questions they can ask you that supposedly only you can answer. I mean, you can imagine a scenario like that where you're doing that with your coworkers.
Right.
It's like you get a text. I get a text from Matt Whitlock, and I ask you the secret question to prove that you're actually Matt Whitlock.
Right, but once you answer the question, it's like digitally there.
Yep.
And then we'll have to do secret handshakes. I I don't know. Something like that. So for those who are listening, I was kind of doing a weird handshake thing in front of the camera, which really looked more like just flailing my hand around, like I was having some kind of seizure. Yeah, that's scary to think about. But yeah, there's gonna be a lot more checks, reality checks, as we go forward. As we learn that we can't trust our eyes and our ears in the way that we used to be able to, and that's going to be a really scary time. Especially for a lot of people who are not very tech savvy and don't understand this stuff. Like they're just gonna, people who are older today. I mean, they still fall for these weird, Nigerian prince email scams, and they fall for when my wife just got like 10 of these yesterday on her cell phone. It was so irritating. But this is Apple calling. There's a problem with your iCloud account. And it's like that's not really Apple. Like they're not going to call you. That's not how it works. But people fall for that stuff all the time, and they click to talk to the operator, and who knows what information you're giving them and what they're stealing from you.
Yeah, I won't name the person or the company, but last month I was interviewing a very senior executive at a very well-known security company, and we were just kind of chit-chatting, and he mentioned that his dad fell for some guy called him up and basically said, we have. I forget how this person presented himself. He said we're from Microsoft or whatever, but it was like, your computer has been attacked and we need your permission to remote into it so we can fix it for you. And Dad let him in.
And he fell for it. Yeah. Because people who aren't tech savvy, they don't know any better.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, in that particular case, the harm could have been much worse than it was. All this attacker wanted to do apparently was implant some sort of adware kind of agent that would look like the machine was compromised so that they could sell you something that you didn't need to buy. And so, I mean, it could have been a lot worse than it was. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are people falling for this stuff all the time.
Yeah, there are. And it's scary. All right. One more. Well, I can only handle one more scary, frightening thing in this, Rich. What's the one you're going to talk about?
Well, just two, but very small predictions for everyone's favorite topic, ransomware. And one is, and this surprised me a little bit, there was a prediction from WatchGuard that you're going to see ransomware go after cloud-based data in 2020. And I remember reading this and thinking to myself, wait a minute, that's not happening now? But it isn't, apparently. For the most part, they're going after data on endpoints, and the cloud has been kind of left alone. That, according to WatchGuard, that's going to start changing. And it'll be interesting to see how well protected those cloud workloads are. And then the other thing, and I've seen predictions like this before, but there was also a prediction I saw that, and this was from Kaspersky, that you're going to see ransomware perpetrators be a bit more targeted in 2020. So, I mean, obviously the dominant mode in ransomware has been to just sort of spray immense amounts of email out there and see what actually works. But there is some evidence, I guess, already that attackers are starting to seek out. It's almost like a marketing effort. They're looking to see who's most likely to pay and most best able to pay, and we're going to concentrate our efforts there. So targeted ransomware that goes after the people who are most suitable to get money from is something we could see next year.
So who would be the most suitable to pay? Small business, I would think, right? And maybe government. Do you think, or are there now kind of rules in place for government that they don't pay? Because there's been a couple of high-profile ones like, what was it, Atlanta, that got like completely locked down for weeks and months, and they didn't pay.
Baltimore, a bunch of cities in Texas. What was it in Louisiana? I mean, it's hard to keep track of them all now. And I don't really know off the top of my head. I know in a lot of these cases, payment is made, but not in all of them. So I don't know. I don't believe there are a lot of rules in place that bar paying the ransom. Yeah, I don't know.
I can see a lot of healthcare, hospitals and stuff, because you're talking like lives on the line.
Exactly. Yeah. And there have been a lot of cases where they've just paid up because they got to do it.
Yeah. Scary times. All those darn nefarious people, Rich. We talk about them all the time. If there were just less nefarious people, the world would be a better place.
I agree.
Yeah. So there's a whole bunch. You said there was two. Is there another one you wanted to touch on?
Well, no, there were sort of two mini predictions for ransomware in there. Cloud gets targeted, suitable, targets get targeted.
Okay, gotcha. Well, awesome. So we'll put a link to both of these stories in the show notes. So go to channelpronetwork.com, find the episode page for episode 128, and you'll be able to follow the links and read and go through. There's a whole bunch of other predictions in here that you'll definitely want to read, and then go do yoga or something to relax. But it's coming, and it's not going to get any better. The world is going to end. Okay. All right. So we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk to Terry and Andra Hedden from Marketopia about some marketing New Year's resolutions that we alluded to earlier. It's going to be a great interview. So definitely stick around. We will be right back. Hello, everyone, and we are back with our interview segment here this week, and we've got two awesome guests. Happen to be, a couple, actually, but a couple of really smart, bright, and awesome people that we've gotten to know. I'd like to introduce Terry and Andra Hedden, the respective CEO and CMO of Marketopia. Marketopia, that's what I said. Welcome, Terry and Andra.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Hi there. Thanks for having us.
Good. So we have you guys on this week because we are coming up on the end of the new year. And well, people at the end of the new year like to make New Year's resolutions. Usually it's like to go to the gym or to eat less or to drink less or to do a home project. But as a marketing company, you think that one of the things that MSPs should be doing is coming up with a New Year's resolution to do, well, marketing. Tell us about that.
I'll go ahead and kick it off. From my perspective, I think everyone wants to be a better version of themselves in the coming year. And I think as entrepreneurs, it's important that we do the same thing for our businesses. We want our businesses to be better in the new year. So, kind of what we've seen working with hundreds of MSPs around the world is that they're all doing a good job on the service side, but where they're struggling is in growth of revenue and growth of profit. And growth of the impact that they're making on their community. And what we see, frankly, is that it's a very easy problem to solve. So what we'd like to see is for each entrepreneur to make a New Year's resolution to their employees and their customers and their families to basically do what it takes to achieve their goals. If they do the math, they'll quickly figure out that doing their goals will require them to get new customers. If they take and divide that by their close ratio, they can figure out what that means in terms of new leads. And then they can either build a team internally or leverage a third-party service provider to get them that number of leads. That way they are going to go from dreaming about their future and fantasizing about what their future might be to expecting it to occur because they're doing what it takes to achieve their dream. So if I could have a New Year's resolution for every MSP, is that they are going to start doing what it takes to achieve their dreams.
So I'm going to jump in here real quickly, actually, because I think it would be helpful for folks in the audience. First of all, Andra, tell people a little bit about Marketopia.
Sure, absolutely. So, and I'll tag on to Matt really quick before I dig into Marketopia. So you did mention New Year's resolutions, and everyone always laughs when New Year's resolutions are talked about, and it's typically because there's no follow through with them. So everyone says, oh, again, this year you're going to try to lose weight. Oh, you're going to try to become more organized. And there's a huge correlation between personal and business resolutions. And the reality is it's just execution. So when it comes to business resolutions, they're very similar. You want to lose weight in your personal life. You want to tighten up the business in your corporate life. You want to get more organized in your personal life and spend more time with the priorities that you need to focus more on. Same thing in business. You need to get organized in business and figure out what those priorities are and align yourself in order to enable the business to accomplish the goals that you have in place. So execution, I think, is really the biggest theme when it comes to New Year's resolutions succeeding long term. But back to Marketopia really quickly. So Marketopia, we are a lead generation and marketing agency based out of sunny Florida. If your New Year's resolution is to get a tan, come visit us. But we are based out of Florida, headquartered here. There's about 100 Marketopians, we call them. So we have a small army here of lead generation experts, primarily in the creative space and obviously the tele space as well are those individuals. So we support businesses in the tech space. We only focus on the technology sector, mainly channel. So if it is a vendor looking to do two-partner or through-partner marketing, or an MSP or a reseller partner looking to grow their business with B2B lead generation, we support and overlay on their internal organization. So sometimes businesses will come to us and they have one or two or maybe a team of marketing individuals already. We'll complement them and we'll help them execute their goals. If they are a really small company trying to grow that they don't have internal marketing resources, we become their outsourced marketing agency and couple on top of them that way. So what we do here, we have a tele team. So we do outbound calling and event recruitment and appointment setting for MSPs and vendors. And then we also have creative services. So anything from PR to social media marketing, search engine optimization, content development, website development, or anything that is tangible from a design perspective, we will help with any one of those elements in the marketing and lead generation strategy.
And Terry, a lot of what you do and just the fact that you created this company, I mean, this stems from your background. You were an MSP.
Yeah, absolutely. I started an MSP and had some success. Frankly, I struggled where most MSPs succeed, and I succeeded where most MSPs struggle. I happened to be really good at sales and marketing and grew an MSP from 0 to 49 people in 6.5 years with no funding. And so we got really good at sales and marketing, bootstrap marketing, making leads out of nothing, closing sales that we probably didn't deserve. And then where I struggled was frankly on the services side. So yeah, that's where a lot of the MSP focused, I guess, initiatives and methodologies and plans and programs came from. And then Andra came in from more of an enterprise vendor perspective, and she's been able to do that for technology vendors in the channel. So the complement's there.
So with respect to marketing resolutions for next year, it's all about execution. I totally agree with that. But let's maybe dive into some specific resolutions folks in our audience can commit to doing next year that going to help them generate some more business. And Andra, you were telling us off the air that you've actually got a list of 12 specific resolutions, specific steps that you're going to be promoting on your website starting soon. So maybe let's just grab one of those and talk about that.
Absolutely. So to start off, we're doing a series on the 12 days till 2020. And so you'll see that come out. Definitely stay tuned for it. But I do think some of the more pertinent ones we'll go through together right now. One is less on the marketing and lead gen side, more on the business side, only because it's the structure and the foundation of enabling your business to succeed in marketing and sales, which comes next, but the structure of the business. So one of the things that we've implemented here at Marketopia from an organizational perspective that we also share out with others, just because anyone from a 5-person to 100 or 250-person organization would really benefit from. It's a program called EOS, so the Entrepreneurial Operating System. We implemented it here 1.5 years ago. We have no ties to them other than the fact that we utilize it internally. And it really helps any business owner successfully put together their organization from a structural perspective. So when you start there and you've got the right people in the right seats, you've got the right focuses and priorities for each of those individuals inside of the business, it becomes very easy then to give the actual kind of marching orders to each one of the individuals in the organization to hit the goals that you're going to align later. So I would say one is take a really good look at your organization as you go into 2020. Make sure that the right individuals are in the right places. Make sure that if you have been kind of a little bit more lenient with some of the roles and maybe you actually need to switch out some individuals, go ahead and do so in the best interest of the business. You need to hire on some new roles, go ahead and do that as well. Now, when it comes to the next piece, which is overlaying a strategy on top of that organization, it's really important to take a look at your sales and marketing organization and align the two. There's a stat that I always like to share, which is it's upwards of over $1 billion a year goes wasted because there's no alignment in privately held businesses because there's marketing and sales channels don't talk to each other. So they've got completely separate goals. Whereas when done correctly, your marketing team knows exactly what your sales team needs to accomplish. in a quarter, in a month, in a year, because they all have quotas. By design, sales teams have quotas. So they are goaled with hitting a certain number. In order to hit that number, they need a certain number of leads generated. If your marketing team has no visibility to the goals set on the sales side, or what type of close ratio your sales team has, or what type of leads need to be generated, it's really hard for the two to complement each other. So I would say my second one would be alignment between the sales and marketing goals. And that needs to happen before you even think through the marketing strategy. It's almost your success metric. So if you know you need X in order to hit your revenue goals of the year, these sales team members are in charge of hitting that number. Now we need to figure out, based on close ratio, what type of leads and how to actually develop those leads through the marketing strategy. And then your marketing strategy would be your next piece.
That's a great one, because I think there is a tendency to just think a lead is a lead is a lead.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, if on the sales side you've decided that this is the big year for security, managed security, and you're kind of pushing in that direction, you absolutely ought to be pushing the exact same direction for marketing.
Absolutely. And to that point also, if there is a different focus in sales, and maybe the focus is on a solution set, or maybe it is on something that you maybe have a higher margin on as a sales rep, or maybe in the business there's a higher margin on it. If there are goals and things from a financial perspective that make more sense to promote and push, that are in alignment with the individual sales rep goals, the business goals, so on and so forth, marketing has to be promoting that properly. So then you get into the next side of it, which is once there is alignment, once sales feels supported and knows very well that marketing is well aware of the business initiatives, then you can really start to identify the right types of strategies to put into your marketing plan. So the next would be putting together a strategic marketing plan for your business. And one of the pieces that we take very seriously when putting together a marketing plan is the definition of a lead. So you were just mentioning not every lead is created equal. We firmly believe that as well. And we actually have a lead spectrum that we go off of here at Marketopia, that we promote to anyone who is in partnership with us, or has the ability to make it to one of our speaking events. We talk about leads in marketing qualified leads and sales qualified leads. And then within those, we actually divide it up between marketing qualified MQL level 1, 2, 3, 4, same thing for sales. SQL level 1, 2, 3, 4. And by doing that and having an actual definition that aligns with your lead type, you're then able to see and understand and measure what a quality lead looks like. So until you're speaking that same language with sales and internally within your organization, it's very difficult to have a uniform measurement of success.
And then you're just kind of spending money.
Exactly.
Not sure if
and hoping. You're crossing your fingers and you're hoping that you get the leads that you need to succeed.
So Terry, you're up. We've covered a few from that list of 12, either from that list or just something you're, a resolution you're particularly fond of. What else should folks be thinking about?
I think when it comes to your dreams, make decisions based on logic and not emotion. I think a lot of the time as technical people, we tend to love technology. We're really quick to buy the latest iPhone or maybe buy a calculator, a new laptop, but we're really slow to invest in things that maybe we don't understand or we're not confident in, like marketing or a salesperson. I kind of walked through the numbers and how you get to the number of leads that you need to achieve your dreams. Don't be afraid to invest in something you don't really know, because if you're logical and structured in your thinking and not emotional, you'll understand that if you get 100 leads and you have a 25% close ratio, that's going to get you 25 customers. Stop letting emotion drive your decision and start using logical to drive your decision. And all of a sudden it'll change the course of the trajectory of your company, of your personal wealth, of your employees' wealth, and about the number of customers that you can support and impact. So that's one that I would add.
So, to get that 100 leads and close 25 of them and so on, I mean, you've obviously got to invest in marketing. I mean, do you have any sort of New Year's resolutions in terms of marketing budgeting that folks should be thinking about, what they kind of need to spend to accomplish those goals?
Absolutely. People, it depends on how fast you want to grow, but a good rule of thumb for an MSP is to spend about 5% of the revenue you want to have. So if you want to be at $1 million, spend 5% of $1 million. If but if you're starting at 100,000, you want to go to $1 million, you're probably gonna have to spend more than 5%. But you get the point. For most MSPs that are looking for a normal growth rate, 5% of the revenue you want to have, with 3 being the bare minimum and 5 or more being ideal. 10 being at the top end. If you really want to grow quickly and put the pedal to the metal, spend 10% of the revenue you want to have, and you'll get there quickly. And for a lot of people, that's a tough number, and they can find that number by looking for opportunities to save money, by committing to themselves to transition net new revenue into that budget as they grow. But at the end of the day, investing in the leads that you need by putting your money where your mouth is and where your dreams are will help you achieve those dreams.
All right. Yeah, Andrew.
I'll ask a question here. So when I think about New Year's resolutions, it always seems like there's 2 trains of thought, and one train of thought says that it's easy to execute on a new initiative. But if you look at people who do New Year's resolutions, and we use losing weight, for example, they'll go January 1st and they'll get their gym membership and they're like gung ho for, a couple weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. And then about mid-February, you notice that the numbers in the gym start to decline. How important is not only execution, but follow through when you're talking about resolutions?
Absolutely. What I would say to that, and you're right, the resolutions have a short runway sometimes. But what I would say to that, so it's specifically talking in this space with the topic that we're on, which is lead generation for your business and marketing. If that focus only lasts for the first month, or even if it's right now, it's okay as long as you have the right partnerships. So one of the resolutions that I would add is aligning the right partnerships for you to succeed in your resolutions. So if your resolution is to generate leads and to grow your business, if you find the right partners to do so, all you need is that short runway to come up with the plan, and then you've got partners executing it for you. So in our space, and the reason, quite frankly, why Marketopia exists is because the partners typically fall off after that first month of trying to lose weight, right? I'm going to get really excited. I'm going to send out a couple direct mail pieces. I'm going to send out a couple emails. And then, you know what? This project that we're working on, this red shiny ball over here, is more of a priority. And so it falls off. Whereas the biggest rule in marketing is you've got to have consistent messaging. You've got to consistently being out there and in front of your prospects, clients, and referral partners. So what I would say to that is, when you're going through this planning process, so that next piece of putting together the marketing strategy to achieve the goals, if you are unable to, or you're scared of it internally, as Terry was mentioning, and you don't really know a lot about marketing, which is why you're avoiding it, align with someone who does. It doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be a long-term relationship. Figure out what you need right then and see who can complement you from a partnership perspective. There are really affordable options out there, and there are people that are more cost effective for them to be doing it for you than you to be doing it. So it's almost even better than the weight loss example, because if your personal trainer is actually going to work out for you in this example versus you having to work out for yourself. So I would say find the right partnerships when you're trying to put together a plan, and allow them to help you succeed and execute and follow through with the plan that you're putting in place. So when you're going to do this and align a strategy for yourself, partnerships would be one, as I mentioned. The other would be take a look at where you already have relationships and things that you're already doing. I think a huge miss in our space right now, specifically with MSPs, is that there's not enough of a priority put on where you already are and using that for lead generation and marketing needs for your business. So we go to a lot of events and MSPs are out and about, but thinking about every single opportunity, whether you're in Starbucks getting a latte, or whether you are, going to get your laundry, or wherever you are, every single place you are, there could be leads around you. So you need to be thinking about your business that way. The lead generation can happen everywhere you are. Marketing doesn't have to be scary. You just have to open up and have that conversation, be ready with your elevator pitch, understand your differentiators, all of that. So I think that there's some really easy, quick wins that MSPs can put into their strategy going forward that they can do themselves, even without finding partners. And then when you go forward and you do find partnerships, it's really important to take a good look at what your base already looks like of clients, partners, and referral partners, and how you're going after them right now and sharing the value that you have to offer. And then taking advantage of that partnership, letting someone else or internally plan out a great marketing strategy that's cost effective for you and generates those leads. And then I would say too, take a look at the tools that are already out there. I have many conversations with partners constantly that they just have never really taken an extra second to build out their own brand, be it your personal brand on LinkedIn or things along those lines that are really easy and free. It's a little bit of your time and you can be out there. You can be doing a great job of promoting yourself, putting out fresh content, making it organic, and letting people fall in love with you and trust you as a service provider for their business.
I'll add on there a little bit. One thing that I really would want people as they start going down the path of investing in themselves, to going kind of building on taking the emotion out of the decision. One thing it's really disheartening to see is when people start to invest in something and then stop investing before it pays off. It takes time to produce results. So make a contract with yourself to commit to doing what it takes to achieve your goals. And let that parlay that into a contract with a provider that's going to instill the patience that you need to have to let them do what they want to do. It takes time to build momentum and to get to potential. And then there's a lag with your sales cycle before that starts to close. You never want to have your contract be less than the summation of the total it takes for your provider to ramp to scale, plus what it takes for your team to close a lead. So if you have a 90-day ramp for your partner and then a 120-day ramp for your sales team to go from lead to close, then you're looking at a 210-day bare minimum timeline before things start to really pay off. So don't be afraid to get into a year contract, maybe even more, so that you're committed financially and you're committed legally to doing what it takes to achieve your goals. If not, you're going to be tempted to not go back to the gym, not send that email, pull that contract in 3 months. Don't be afraid of commitment when it comes to growing and succeeding your business. To be honest with you, for MSPs, it should be a whole lot easier to commit to growing them than it is to get the customers to commit to their services over the long haul.
You guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems to me that the two biggest and sort of most common mistakes that MSPs make with respect to marketing. One would basically be they do it in this very sort of on and off kind of way. A little burst of marketing. I want some leads right now.
Yo-yo marketing. Yes.
Yeah. So just I do it just a little bit there and not on a sustained basis that, to your point, Terry, can kind of, has time to produce results. The other thing that I run into a lot is just when you say marketing to somebody, what they mean is referrals. And that's the one sort of tactic that they kind of use. So, do you have any advice, any resolutions that people should adopt in terms of the range of marketing activities they should be looking at?
Three should be 3 different campaigns every month. 1, nothing is better than a word of mouth lead. Nothing is better than a referral. No lead is a higher close ratio. So invest in getting more of those by doing a marketing campaign to your referral partners. Offer them motivation to recommend you. Remind them that you exist and that you want leads. So market to your referral partners on a monthly basis. 2, do a demand gen campaign to your customers. Cross-sell, upsell. It's a lot easier to get a customer to buy a new service from you than it is to get a net new customer. The 3rd campaign is to net new prospects. There's a lot of green grass out there. I don't know of a single MSP that controls more than a few % of their market. So there's a lot of green grass out there. Don't hesitate to go out there and get it. Someone's going to get that opportunity because 3% of the market is looking for managed services at any given point in time. So you just got to go out there and find that 3%.
So any other really good highlights from that list of 12 marketing tips, Andra?
Sure. So, and there are a bunch here. What I would say too is when thinking through the type of lead generation effort, when you're aligning that marketing strategy and you're really understanding where you're going to invest and spend, even if you do take this on internally, which is great too, as long as you're set up for success, would be to really make sure once you know the type of leads that you need and you know what your network looks like, take a look at internally. What do you have in place that you can utilize for lead generation efforts? So for instance, when it comes to systems that you have in place, do you have a marketing automation system that you can send out emails to, or do you need help there? Make sure that you've got the right systems aligned. In accord with that, make sure that you've got clean data. So one of the easiest ways to continue to lean on referral partners is because it's easy. That handshake, that person you already know, referrals coming in, those are easy leads. But you really need to start to systematize your marketing approach if you really want to grow at the rate that you're intending to. So it's really important to start to look at how you get there and how you scale yourself. A lot of MSPs in our space are owners who want to do great things, and they have these great, amazing dreams, but putting it into a process and scaling yourself as a business owner is huge. The only way to do that is to put into scalable solutions to enable you to get there. So you've got to make sure that you've got systems in place that you can do that, whether it's Google Ads that you're going to jump into and you've got your Google console running, whether it's email automation systems that you're going to start using, or that you just make sure you've got clean data. So many MSPs that we speak to, we say, okay, talk us through your database. What does it look like? And they get wide-eyed because they have business cards laying all over their desk and they don't have anything organized in their, CRM or their PSA tool, or it's not labeled correctly because everyone's just kind of going in and putting things in ad hoc. So I would say make a resolution to yourself to clean up your data and to take your data very seriously. That is an extremely lucrative asset of yours. And quite frankly, if it's done correctly, that is going to be how you organize your current clients, referral partners, and customers and set up those campaigns, those set it and forget it email campaigns or social media campaigns or your ad campaigns so that you can continue to drip out to them. And I would say take that very seriously. The other one that I would mention too is influencer marketing. So one of the neat things about this space that we're in is that there are a lot of influencers in our space. Rich, you're an influencer. There's a lot of influencers in our space who are very active, and this community that we live in, this channel community is small, right? So, and our local communities are really small. And so get involved and get connected with other influencers in the space and learn from them, and then also utilize them for lead generation. So many times, if you don't want to use the broad brush approach of, emails going out and social going out, get really strategic with influencers in your local markets as MSPs. Understand who the big players are, get involved in associations, become board members on different boards that you think could really influence what you have. If you've got medical, stacks and solutions that you're trying to deliver, get involved on boards that would make a difference or understand where those individuals play and get to know them. Link up to them on LinkedIn, see if you can connect with them on Facebook, and get to know the individuals who are actually influential in your local markets, that if they knew enough about you and what you provide and the value that you bring to the table, when you're not in that room that they're in and someone needs your service, they are going to bring you up. So I call it creating a PR army for yourself, and making sure that when you're not in a room, that you've given enough information to the individuals who are in the room so that they can promote you when you're not there. And that lends to referral partners. So I would say figure out who the influencers are in your local markets and get to know them and create a network out of them.
Hey, Terry, what would you say is I'm trying to figure out how to say this. Andrew mentioned that you can try to do some of this stuff on your own and go, as long as you're set up for success. Mm-hmm. In what would you look for to know if you are set up for success in that case? And historically, how likely is someone to have success kind of trying to do this stuff on their own versus partnering with someone like you who can kind of do it for them?
Knowing whether you're successful or not is a very simple thing. Once you calculate the number of leads that you need to achieve your goals, you'll know you're successful when you're getting that number of leads. If you need 40 a month, you got to get 40 a month. If the person you're working with is successful if they're getting that number. Now, there is a caveat to that, which is that you have to support them. If it's an internal team and they're asking you for budget to do digital marketing, you've got to give them that budget. They've got to have a reasonable cost per lead expectation. And a reasonable cost per lead expectation in our space is very easily defined, specifically around what we find is a sales qualified lead, or one where the customer is engaged and willing to meet with a salesperson. Your cost per lead should be around $1,000, maybe a little more, maybe a little less, depending on volume and frankly, how good your reputation is. Some people, it's a lot easier to get a lead than others. If you're not empowering your team, whether that's internal or external, with the financial resources that they need to achieve that goal, then you as a business owner aren't doing what it takes to be successful. So a little caveat there. You have to support the people that you've hired to do that work. Now, most MSPs that are great at marketing are growing. They're fast growing. They're in the top 1%. They're not relying on inbound leads. They've got a lead generation engine and a sales engine that's propelling them to new heights on a daily basis. And that's wonderful. And we cheer them on, and we learn from them, and we applaud them, and we celebrate them when it comes to things like the MSP 501 and even our own award ceremony that we do at our show for people that are really making a difference and achieving dreams. If you're not one of those people, admit it to yourself. That's fine, right? You're taking some of your own dog food a little bit. If there's a reason you don't recommend that every one of your customers hire in-house IT, and that is that it's difficult and expensive to build the skill set required to achieve redundancy, resiliency, skill set requirements. Building out a marketing team takes 3 or 4 people to really do it right, a minimum of 3 to 4 people. So if you're big enough, we're hiring 4 people, spending, I don't know, $300,000 on annual salaries, maybe more. If you're in a position where you can do that, then God bless you, go for it. We'll support you. We're here for training if you'd like it. If you need a project, we're here to help you. If you can't, don't have those resources, don't want to hire those people, or have admitted to yourself that you're not a marketing person skilled at getting leads on a reliable basis, then that's where Marketopia comes in. There's a lot of great industry players now out there that are succeeding on grand scale in the MSP space. There's no reason to invent it yourself and to try to become something you're not. Take a little slice of humble pie for Christmas dinner and make the decision to lean on a third party, much like you recommend your customers lean on you.
Excellent. Well, it's a great list. We've heard of a few items on that, and I know you're going to be putting that list on your website for those who want to see the full list of 12, right?
Yes, we will. And we're going to have short videos that go along with it also. So we will, and you'll be able to check it out on marketopia.com. Awesome.
Yeah. And we'll put a link to that on our show notes page. If you're listening right now, you can go to our show notes page and you'll find a link there to their list of 12. If you're watching on YouTube, you can go to the description area, open that up, and we'll put a link to it there. Now, before we go, all this talk of New Year's resolutions makes me wonder, Andra, what's your New Year's resolution? Not marketing related, but just your New Year's resolution.
Just resolution in general.
Yeah.
I would say I have 2. So one would be, obviously as a business owner, we are very busy constantly. And we actually do what we share with others to do. So we're very busy planning. We're very busy being strategic. This past year, we bought a building and renovated it over this past year. So we've been really heads down doing some pretty cool projects. So one of mine is actually to spend more time on the water. We live on the water and we don't spend nearly enough time on the water. So one of my resolutions is to spend more time on the water. So our weekend rule is going to be that you have to leave out of the back door of the house to the water, not the front door. So that's going to be a weekend rule. And then another is just to make a larger emphasis on health and sleep. Those would be my New Year's resolutions.
Excellent resolutions. And Mr. Husband, what is your New Year's resolutions?
Yes, ma'am.
Or is your New Year's resolutions whatever she says?
Yes, sir.
I love it.
So, I'm kind of with her. We've had, we've been in business for 5 years. We've been burning it at both ends, achieving, Inc. 500 and achieving growth rate measured in thousands, and really building a pretty cool thing in 5 years. We're about the size of our competitors combined. We generate more leads than our competitors combined. We've achieved some pretty extraordinary things. And my goal in 2020 is to celebrate that a little bit by taking more time off, to truly disconnect, take a 2-week vacation, take weekends where you kind of leave your phone at home and I'm with her. I'll be on that.
He won't leave us home.
I'll be on the boat with her, celebrating and enjoying some time. We live in Florida, and we have lots of sunshine to enjoy, and I intend to do so in 2020.
That's awesome. Now, for those who aren't familiar with you, I think you've told the story before, but for those who don't know, there's a little bit of a storied history between you two and ChannelPro, if I remember correctly. Andrew, why don't you tell that story? Because I've heard it from his perspective. I've never heard it from yours.
So funny. So, and he always says we have two different versions of this. I'll give a really short version because I don't know where this recording is going to end up. So we actually, I always laugh because Joel always says we have two good friends, Joel and another one, Lon, that say they set us up, and they always share that story. But so one of the ChannelPro events, the very first ChannelPro event ever, I was working in distribution at the time, and Joel and I had partnered on a couple of ChannelPro, and I had partnered on a couple of things. And there was an event that we were sponsoring, the company that I was with at the time, and it was in Orlando. And so I went to that event, and I had a spiel to the audience, and then afterwards I had left. Afterwards, there was a cloud panel of experts that came on. Terry was part of that, but I wasn't in the room. And then fast forward, we ended up meeting each other in the networking portion of the event. So he came up, he's like, how do we not know each other? We're both in the same space. It's such a small world. I'm like, oh, nice to meet you. And so we ended up chatting. I'll give you the very short version of it. It turned out that the company that he was with, he actually had a meeting at my company the next week. Lo and behold, that was my meeting that I had called, and someone was bringing him into it. So we ended up meeting right then, and became friends, and were friends for about a year and a half, and then the rest was history. So we went on our first date, and then we were together ever since. So that is a very short version of that story. If you want the real version of that story, I will tell it to you at an event sometime.
I do want to hear more, and we'll leave the personal details to a more personal discussion later.
Yes.
But it's good to highlight in the show that we have living proof that the ChannelPro Network live events, you will not only find great content, great discussion, great education.
You can find yourself.
You might also find love.
Yes, I love that. It is so true. I love that.
That is great.
Thank you to ChannelPro.
Oh, yeah. We do what we can as the matchmakers of the industry. Well, I want to thank you guys so much for being on here. I know it's really hard to get the two of you at the same time. So
yes, it is.
It really worked out well, and I hope to have you guys back. But before... tell us if people want to get in touch with you on the social networks or on your website.
Sure.
Tell them how people can connect with you guys.
Absolutely. So we are everywhere you want to be. So you can go to Marketopia.com and connect with us there. Be on the lookout because we have a fresh new look coming in 2020. So you can come to our website. We are also on Facebook. You can go to Marketopia TLM on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and also on YouTube.
Fantastic. And Terry, you on the social? You have any other personal socials that you want to share?
Yeah, just link up to me on LinkedIn if you'd like. I have some random musings on there, hoping to inspire people through my social media channels. Head03 on Twitter, and then LinkedIn as well. Or give me a call 1-888-4 the letter 2 the number 4 the letter U number 2 and then the word grow. 888-4U2GROW, and ask for Terry, and I'd love to talk to anybody who'd like to grow their business in 2020.
Fantastic. All right. Well, thank you guys again so much for being here, and hopefully we'll have you back on a future show. We're going to cut to a break, but when we come back, I do have a museum pick for you this week as we kind of wrap up the show, as well as a tech pick, and Rich will highlight what has been and what is coming on ChannelPro down the pike. Usually he gets the past stuff right pretty often. Not always perfect on the prediction of the future, but he's like 50-50. But astonishingly, he can predict the past with amazing accuracy. It's really amazing how he does it. So everyone, stick around, and thanks to Terry and Andra Hedden of Marketopia for being here. We will see you shortly.
Bye. Thank you.
All right, and we are back with part 3 of ChannelPro Weekly, where we're going to talk about some end of the show, normal features that we do. I've got a museum pick. I've got a tech pick. Rich is going to highlight what has been and what will be. So, Rich, it was an awesome interview. Terry and Andrew are just stunningly brilliant people. And Andra never ceases to amaze me. She's just like so in tune with the marketing and being able to be articulate and explain it, and just awesome.
I love talking with both of those folks anytime I get the opportunity to, because I always learn something. And so, you kind of mentioned it's not easy to get them both in one place at one time, just given everything going on at Marketopia. So I pitched that, can we get you both maybe? And they made it happen. It was a great treat.
Yeah, great stuff. Lots of actionable, interesting. And for our listeners and viewers, we know marketing is not always something that's top of mind, or something that's always seems like it's too expensive, unattainable, difficult to do. Companies like Marketopia are there to really help you with that. And marketing is a really important thing to do if you want to grow. So definitely go and check out their list of 12 things, and think about doing a New Year's marketing resolution next year, because I think it would be very important for everyone's business. What do you say, Rich?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I don't think there are very many people listening to the podcast right now who would dispute that marketing and sales and marketing basically are the area where they struggle the most, and the first step towards dealing with that issue is to resolve immediately, or at least on January 2nd, that you're going to do something about it, instead of just feeling like you're not, making the kind of headway you want to.
Yeah. Now, towards the end there, we were talking about New Year's resolutions, and we asked them what their New Year's resolutions were, but I didn't ask you what yours is. So, Rich, what is your New Year's resolution?
Gosh, well, I have not thought about this a whole bunch yet, but I have one. And so as our audience knows, I do quite a bit of traveling for ChannelPro, and I get to go to all these sort of interesting places and stay at these nice hotels, and in Miami and Austin, Texas, and Phoenix, all these great places. And then I come home and a friend asks me, "Hey, how was Miami?" And I say, "I don't really know," because I spent my entire time at the Hilton where the event was happening, and most of that time in my room writing. So I am determined that in 2020, I'm actually going to allow myself to just, explore, enjoy some of these great destinations I get to go to. And it could be, I fly out a day early, I fly home a day late, and, I just hang out in Miami or Austin or something like that a little bit. But I've grown tired of going to great places and not really seeing them. So I want to try to kind of put a little dent into that next year.
That's a great resolution. And, and as much as someone, I used to travel a little more than I do these days, but I was in the same boat. Like I would go to a city, and I was usually, now I had two small kids, like very small kids at the time. So I didn't really want to, it was hard for my wife when I was away. So I didn't want to make it difficult, but I got to go to all kinds of cities, and I saw like the airport, one highway to the hotel, and then the same highway back to the airport. And it's like, well, how was blah city? And I agree. I say like, I don't know. I didn't see any of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's a great resolution. So you're going to plan on taking a day or so before or after to go sightseeing or whatever?
I mean, that sort of feels like the most practical option, because I mean, I really am very busy when I'm at a conference. But just as a for example, I remember in September, I think I attended IT Glue's conference, GlueX, which was in Phoenix at this fabulous resort. And I flew in, I got in like late Sunday afternoon, and I was kind of looking around saying, this place is amazing. Like, why the heck didn't I fly out there Friday night or Saturday morning, right? And just, it would have been great to spend the weekend. That would have been a little pricey, but you know what? You don't do that every weekend. Now and again, go and do something like that. So yeah, extending a trip a little bit. I was in about twice a year now. I go to Greenville, South Carolina for a Cinex event because they have a big facility. And I love what little I've seen of Greenville, but I never really just get time to explore it. So I'm determined that next year, and the last time I was there, I flew home on a Friday afternoon, Friday evening. Again, it's like, gee, couldn't I just extend that a day or two and actually kind of see some of Greenville next time. So I think that's probably going to be the easiest way to do it.
Yeah, that's great. So top 5 places, cities that you now want to actually, that you've been to, but want to see more of. Top 5, go.
Gosh. I always draw a blank. Well, so I mentioned Greenville. That's for sure. One. What else?
You said Phoenix.
Yeah. Well, and Phoenix is more like, I want to go and it's not so much exploring the city. I just want to hang out. It's just such a beautiful place. And the hotels where these events happen are so nice. Just give me a day to hang out at the pool. I'm just looking forward to that kind of a thing. I mentioned Austin, which is another place, really fun place that I've been to on vacation, but I go there once or twice a year on business, and I never get a chance to really sort of enjoy it. I want to explore that more. Maybe Boston, maybe Chicago. Maybe you're in neck of the woods there. I've been there a few times this year.
I know the last time you were out here, I remember you mentioned that you really hadn't explored much of Chicago. And I know we did a few things while you were out here, but not a lot because the weather was kind of dismal that day. But
yeah.
So, yeah, well, hopefully you can kind of come out here. And, I think I can remember we mentioned or alluded that you were going to make a trip out here on a previous show. And everyone was wanting to see pictures of Rich, with Hammy the Hog or whatever from around here. But unfortunately, that trip got delayed. So Rich might be still coming out this direction. We're looking maybe January, February.
Yeah.
So it still might happen, but unfortunately, it didn't work out in December like we thought. But when we do, we will put up lots of fun pictures for everyone to check out of stage Rich doing embarrassing things because that's fun. Good times. All right. Well, so that's your New Year's resolutions. I'm sure everybody wants to know mine.
I do.
So I've got 2, and one. My first New Year's resolution I kind of started already. I started it back in October. And that was to lose weight. It's a common one. It's a cliche, I guess. But I've over the last few years, I've gotten a little bigger around the midsection here, a little softer. And I kind of got tired of looking at event photos and be like, man, who's that fat guy there with the microphone? And of course, I'm looking at a picture of me. So I joined a gym, and I've actually gone 5-6 nights a week for the last couple months. It's kind of like in my routine now.
That's
so it
great.
doesn't feel like it's a problem. So hopefully as I get into now I'm doing like some light weightlifting. So I actually haven't really lost a lot of weight, it seems, but I've definitely noticed that like I'm a notch in on my belt. So I have lost some girth around the midsection here. So I don't know if I really care where my weight lands as long as I kind of look better and less squishy.
And that's absolutely the right way to think about it. And this is a problem that people run into is they resolve, I'm going to work out and I'm going to lose weight, and they're several weeks into it and the scale is reading exactly what it was before. And that's because, to your point, muscle weighs more. Muscle is more dense than fat. If you're replacing fat with muscle, your weight will stay about the same, but you are actually having an impact. And so the thing to pay attention to isn't so much the scale as, how do you look? How do your clothes fit? That's kind of how you know something's actually happened.
Yeah, and I've definitely noticed a little bit of improvement there. So, there's some other changes in my life that I would like to make, diet and stuff that I'll work on as time goes on. But I've definitely gotten the gym thing down, and I'm pretty happy. And I don't even think about it. It's like, like 9:30 hits and I get in the car and I go, and I got a buddy who kind of made a similar resolution and has been kind of going with me every day. So that helps kind of keep us accountable. Like, oh, he's expecting me to go, so I got to go. And I expect him to go. So he's like, even if he doesn't want to go, he feels like he has to, which is a good situation to be in.
Yeah, that helps.
So hopefully for folks who are coming to our next live event in March, which is in Atlanta, Rich?
Dallas.
Dallas, Texas is our March event. So hopefully you'll see a slightly trimmer, more demure me. So come for the visual feast hopefully. My other resolution, Rich, is a work related one, and it's a good one, and it's one that I've kind of talked about, but I really am trying to put an effort into it, which is the amount of writing that I do. As people who have read the magazine for a long time or follow the website, people used to know I used to write articles and be in doing reviews and all kinds of stuff, and galleries and stuff, a lot more than I have been the last few years. A lot of that is just because of a lot of the web technical side of my job has been certainly crazier with a lot of projects for other things that we were doing. And so my development time has been a lot more of my job than I want. And so I'm making an effort to try to prioritize that stuff as well as I can, but also make sure that I'm making time to get more writing done so I can share my crazy point of view of technology and hardware and stuff with our readers. And I know Rich would really like that too.
I was going to say this will be a New Year's gift to me if I wholeheartedly support this resolution. There is a recurring department in our monthly magazine. It's not in every issue, but in a lot of issues we have this section that we call Channel Gear, and that was your we created that for Matt. We built something in the magazine for Matt because I love Matt's writing, and he comes at stuff happening in the industry from an angle that nobody else at ChannelPro or even really our freelancers can do in terms very hardware technical kind of focus, and we love having that in the magazine. So we created a section of the magazine for Matt, and just unfortunately there's really no getting around it. There's been too much other stuff to do. So I would love it if you got some bandwidth and could start doing channel gears again.
Yeah, I would. I'm going to try to ease into this. So, yeah. And I remember when we did channel gear, and I was actually much better about getting that done when God bless her memory, with Miss Cecilia Galvin was around. She was just notorious about hounding me to get it done. Yeah. But I also remember, Rich, now when I asked for a column, I wanted like a side of a page, like a strip, 300 words, 400 words, give or take, And then I ended up getting like 2 pages a lot of time. So someone was like, oh, you want it? It's like, oh, well, you're not going to get this. You're going to get like all this. And it's like, it really became a lot to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I would love to go back to having a page at some point, but I'm going to start with reviews and kind of ease back into that. And then I'll get into the other writings, and I want to do some more stuff for online. Like I used to love doing those, 8, those galleries, 8 mice that you want to buy and use and all that kind of stuff. So we'll get back to that, but it's definitely on my list of resolutions to be better at this year, and it will absolutely happen.
Cool.
Yay! So that was my New Year's resolutions. Now listeners and viewers, what are your New Year's resolutions? Are you? They can be business or personal. Are you planning on doing more marketing? Are you planning on going to the gym? Are you planning on being there better more accessible to your kids? Are you planning on changing your diet, going on more vacations, hiring more people? You tell us what your New Year's resolutions are. And then if we can get enough of them, hopefully we can actually go through and kind of do a list of New Year's resolutions of our audience on our episode right after New Year's.
That would be a lot of fun. And I guess I would tell anyone who chimes in, which we encourage everyone to do let us know if it's okay whether or not we use your name. But yeah, no, it would be great to share some of that.
Yeah, and we could do, we'll be careful with that. Maybe we'll just do whatever name you send, or first name, last initial. I don't want to we don't want to make it too personal. But we do want to definitely hear what the resolutions are. So definitely fire those off to us on Twitter. We are at ChannelPro SMB on Twitter. We are on Facebook. You can do them there. You can email them to us. podcast@channelpronetwork.com is our email address. So please feel free to email those to us. We'll share our other personal ones, but try to do one of those. But yeah, tell us what your New Year's resolution is. Oh, and if you're on YouTube, I'll start a discussion there in the chat. So you can tell us what your New Year's resolutions are. So if you're on YouTube, you can go there. We want to hear them, and hopefully we can get a good 10, 15 of them, enough to share, to do a little segment on our next show. Our next show after New Year's. So, Good. So we're going to move on. Rich, we're moving on to my museum pick. So for those who might be new to the show, I have a massive quantity of old things, technology related, that I have accumulated over the years. Because, well, I've been a nerd my whole life, and anything that plugs in, has buttons or a screen or uses electricity, I have a very, very difficult time getting rid of. I've also amassed a collection of other things outside of that. CE devices and IT devices. Rich has been here. He has seen it. He knows that it's not just a hobby, it's also a disease. And I know I need lots of help. But my disease is your good fortune. That's a really weird way of saying it. But but because I have all this old cool stuff, I can pick one out and share it with you here on the show. So I'm sharing a device that I actually just took out of service. And this device was actually unsupported in 2015, but it still worked. So at least it worked for what I needed to do. And lots of people had these. Some people still do have them. So, but the device I'm going to talk about this week is it might be backward on the screen there, but this is the Roku XDS. So lots of people are probably familiar with Roku. Rich, you know what a Roku is?
I've got a couple of them.
Yeah. Okay. So they're basically a streaming device you can kind of plug into a TV, and it just gives you access to all kinds of online video services and things like that. So but the Roku was kind of the one that started it all. If you think back in 2008, 2009, somewhere in that time period. I thought I had it up. Maybe I didn't. But the Roku, where'd it go? I don't know. Oh, there it is. Okay. Yeah. I was right. May of 2008. So the Roku was the first officially supported device to stream Netflix. And this was back when Netflix was primarily a DVD by mail company, and it was just starting to put out their streaming service. Well, the only device for a long time that could do that was the Roku, and it was an incredibly low cost hardware device that actually looked basically just like this one. No, mine is actually the second generation from 2010, but the first generation looked pretty much exactly like this. They had a couple different models, but they built it on kind of very low cost hardware, so it was pretty affordable. It was easy to use, and they over time started adding the ability to stream more things. And Roku's kind of grown into this kind of big streaming platform. Devices like Roku have also gone to the wayside a little bit because a lot of televisions have a lot of these smart capabilities built in that can stream from various services, at least the big ones. Where Roku has a lot more available. It's like a gigantic smorgasbord of online video sites and services that you can stream from. So there is still some benefit even if you have a smart TV and it could do Netflix, Amazon Prime, and Hulu, and maybe a couple others. Well, this can do hundreds of different things online. So pretty cool stuff. So mine is the second generation. They added some stuff like HDMI output and higher resolution display. But the reason why I took this out of service, even though it was officially unsupported in 2015, is the ability to stream Netflix, which is pretty much what I used it for. The ability to stream Netflix became officially unsupported and does not work as of this. It was December 2nd or something like that of this year. And this was hooked up in my office to a TV that's set in front of a treadmill. And now it doesn't work. So we had to unplug it. I was sad. It worked for a long, long, long time. But now you said you have two of these, Rich. Are yours old or new?
I've got one in the living room that's a Roku 3. That's been there for a little while. And then one in the bedroom that's like a Roku stick, plugs right into the TV. That's newer. But I've had them both for a few years, certainly.
Yeah, the 3 was when they really updated the processing power. Because I don't even think the second generation ones are even really supported anymore either. Because they use really low cost, kind of low power hardware, and I think it got difficult to extend the interface. So like the interface on this one was really old and gangly and not very attractive, whereas the one that I replaced it with, which is what I'll talk about in a second, And it's much prettier. It's much smaller. It has access to way more services than this thing ever did. And it's a little bit easier to use. So yeah, pretty cool. So that will lead me onto my tech pick. Rich, what are the top 3 things you watch on your Roku? Go.
Well, even though I probably don't need to use the Roku to watch Netflix and Prime, I mean those, but and actually we talked about this once. I used to refer to myself as a cord cutter, and you said no, you're a guy who gets cable over the internet instead of over a cable. But I do that via a service called Sling.
Yep, Sling TV. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is owned by the Deep Dish folks, I believe, or whatever. So that is essentially my cable package, and that they have a Roku app. That's how I watch that.
Now, did you say that they're owned by the Deep Dish folks? Like owned by a pizza company?
No, what am I looking for? The Dish TV. Thank you.
Yeah, Dish Network.
It's lunchtime here in Seattle.
They're owned by Chicago-style Deep Dish Pizza. Rich, we have a show title with that somewhere. That was just awesome. Yes, nothing like Roku Deep Dish. Yeah, that's awesome. Very cool. So that will lead me to my tech pick. So I'm not gonna leave this topic. We're talking about streamers to hook up to a display to display all kinds of video from the internet. And I really liked my Roku. It worked for a long time. It was great. They have a lot of great stuff. They have some competition from Amazon. Their Fire TV from Amazon is a big competitor to what Roku does. But I decided to stick with Roku, and I got the Roku streaming stick. Now that thing is like, I don't know, an eighth the size of this box. So actually now it just kind of hangs from the TV from a little cord. It actually looks kind of ugly, but well, whatever. What are you going to do? But it's way more powerful, has way more channels, a better remote control. It's got a similar remote control, but it's like RF based. So like you don't have to aim it at it, which is kind of nice. And yeah, and it supports 4K. It supports, what is it? What else does it support? I'm looking here. HDMI, 4K resolution. It's got built-in Wi-Fi. It's got all kinds of stuff. Yeah. So if you have any Roku prior to 2015, made in May 2011 or earlier, yeah, Netflix no longer supports Netflix. Some of the other stuff might work. So if you don't watch Netflix, some of the other services might work, but you might need to get a new one, and that's a pretty good one. Probably very similar to the one you have, Rich.
Yeah, I'll bet yours is maybe a newer generation, but yeah, probably a very similar kind of. And I totally agree. By the way, I'm very happy with it. I'm glad I bought it, but it's not the most sightly. So it's just kind of sticking out of the side of my TV with this cable that So it plugs into an HDMI port, and then you plug the cord into a USB port for power, and the cord's just kind of dangling there. But it gets the job done.
It does get the job done. In fact, even though I actually have a older smart TV, it's not even that old. It's like a Samsung from, I don't know, maybe 3-4 years ago. I don't know. But it had like smart stuff built in. But man, like their smart application is just awful. Like sometimes when you turn the TV on, like it won't work. So you got to turn it off and then back on again to get it to load. And it seems like it's stuck in like an update cycle where like if you power off the TV when you're in that smart interface, like it has to update itself again next time you turn on the TV. And there's nothing worse than like wanting to start a show at 9:00 at night and having to sit there and wait for 10 minutes while it does this update. That's probably already done 17 times, right? Yeah. Or 1,700 times or whatever. So I actually thought about getting another one of those sticks and just for bypassing that smart feature of the TV altogether and using the other one because it would be easier and better and probably work better. So there's still lots of reason in the market to get something like that. So, and if you're looking to get a Christmas present for somebody, hey, you can't go wrong with a Roku device. So little holiday recommendations. Rich, we haven't even talked about Christmas. What are you getting me for Christmas, by the way, Rich?
Like I'm going to tell you now. It's got to be a surprise.
Yeah. So yeah, Christmas is coming. I think we actually will talk about that in a brief second. But Rich, that is my museum and my tech pick. So Rich, why don't you go ahead and tell us what has been and what will be?
Well, in terms of what has been, the best place every week, actually, to find out about that is our In Case You Missed It post. Every Friday on ChannelProNetwork.com, James Gaskin of the ChannelPro team here posts a roundup of the news from the week that was that we didn't get a chance to cover in dedicated articles on the website. Kind of a slow pre-holiday week here, but there was a ton of Security Alliance news out of Google, involving everyone from McAfee to Palo Alto to Fortinet and Arctic Wolf, and he's going to round some of that stuff up for you. There's also Intel buying an AI chip maker for $2 billion, and everybody's favorite vendor to hate, LogMeIn, was acquired by a private equity firm for $4.3 billion. He will have all that for you. Now, in terms of next week, because of the holiday, there's really not going to be happening a whole lot happening in the industry. So, no conferences, probably not a whole ton of news. Pretty quiet week coming up, which is good. We all need a week to rest and recharge and get ready for an exciting 2020.
I 100% agree. So for our listeners and viewers, we should probably talk about what our schedule is going to be over the holiday season. I'm not even 100% sure you and I know, but I can...
We haven't talked about it.
We really haven't talked about it. We probably should.
Let's do a production meeting on the air, right?
Production meeting on the air. Well, I can say with pretty good certainty that we will not have a show next week. With Christmas Day being on Wednesday, there's not really a good front or back to record a show, and there's no reason to record a show on Monday when there's not really going to be anything to talk about news-wise. So, Rich, are we going to do a show on New Year's week?
Well, I can tell you, the first day I will be back at work is January 2nd, which is a Thursday, and that is typically when we record. So, we have that window open. It's just that there won't necessarily be a whole lot that has been written and posted on the website between now and then. So it'd have to be a different kind of show, maybe, if we go ahead and do that.
All right. So listeners, I will say this. No, there will not be a show next week. There might be a show the week of New Year's. We will, but Rich and I are going to have to talk about that, see if we can make that happen. And you don't want to listen to us plan something like that. So keep an eye on the ChannelProNetwork.com website. Keep an eye on Twitter that week. And of course, it's just easy. If the easiest way, folks, just subscribe. Go to iTunes, go to Google Play Podcasts, go to Stitcher, whatever platform du jour you enjoy your podcasts. You should find us there. If you have a favorite podcast app on your phone or tablet and you just want an RSS feed, we got that available. Every show sheet at Channel Pro Network has that on. For every Channel Pro Weekly show sheet has it. Drop that into your application. Poof, you don't have to worry about it. If we do a show, it shows up. It's great. If you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. And also hit the bell, and then you'll get notified when we have a new episode out for you. And then you don't have to think about it or wonder, I wonder if they're going to do one this week. If we do one, it'll just be there for you to watch. It's great. It's easy. It's convenient. It's wonderful. So do that. When we'll kind of see how that goes. And hopefully everybody has a great Christmas. So we're going to wrap up there. I told you how to subscribe. Please go and do that. If you want to follow us on the social networks, we are at Channel Pro SMB on Twitter. We are Channel Pro Network on Facebook. We are Channel Pro Network on LinkedIn. You can find us there. If you want to follow me, I'm at Matt Whitlock. Rich, you are?
At Rich Free.
And we are both on the Twitters. You can follow us there. We're Channel Pro Network on YouTube. So go to YouTube, type Channel Pro Network or Channel Pro Weekly. You'll find it. Make sure you subscribe and hit the bell so you get new episodes there. Don't forget, we would love to hear your New Year's resolutions. So go to the area on YouTube and find that question that I'll post and reply to it there with your New Year's resolution. If you want to email it to us, it's podcast@channelpronetwork.com. Or again, go to Twitter and blast it to us in any of those respective services, and we will find it. So that way we can share those some of those on the air on either the January 2nd when we do a show, or the week after, which would be January 9th. So on behalf of Rich, I would like to tell everyone, have a great holiday season, a very Merry Christmas, a great New Year's. For those who are Jewish, I think Hanukkah starts up here sometime soon, right, Rich?
Yeah.
So a great Hanukkah, whatever faith or holidays that you celebrate this time of year, make it a great one, and have a great New Year's Eve. Be safe, everyone, and we will see you all in 2020. See you then.